Hello, art students. You can see that I've come a long ways, and I want to explain some of this work to you. All right, so as you can see, the farther back in space we go, it gets darker and darker, and as we leave, as we come closer, pretend if we were walking closer to us, the view would become lighter and lighter. And that's the way it is in real life, okay? So that's going to help trick our viewer's eye that with the perception of depth, right? It's going to make them feel like it's going farther away from us, okay? So keep that in mind when you are focusing on value. Make it darker the farther away you get. Now up here is the water surface. So if you're looking up, there's probably some sunlight trickling down, right? So this whole area up here should probably be pretty light, except for where it starts to get farther away from us in the far distance, okay? So realistically, darker towards the focal point and gradually getting lighter and lighter as we come out to the outside of our paper, okay? Also, you can see I filled my design with lots of fun sea creatures. Let me zoom in for you. Look at that. There's an octopus, a squid, a big squid. And we have a great white shark. I did a jellyfish. I did a dolphin. Can't do a sea without a dolphin in it. And there's a puffer fish. I did a starfish and a seahorse and a friendly crab down here in the corner. And then I got some coral reef going in right here, okay? So that's me explaining my work. Now I get to experiment. And I did all of this, by the way, simply with coloring in with colored pencils, all right? Now we can go a little bit more in depth, and I think we can start inviting watercolor pencils, okay? So this would be kind of fun for you if you have these available to use some watercolor pencils. If not, that's okay. You could also experiment a little bit with your marker ink and a wet water brush, and you'll get a fairly similar result. You also, if you want to play around a little bit with some watercolor paint, you're more than welcome to try that out at this point too, okay? So after you're done with color pencils first, then you can start to dabble and experiment a little bit with watercolor paint or watercolor pencils, okay? So a few techniques. Let's talk about watercolor pencils first. All right, you can take your watercolor pencil and you can then dip it into the cup. Literally take the lead, let it sit there, let it soak for a few seconds. Do, 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 do. After you can see that it's starting to turn a little soggy, then it's probably good, okay? It's kind of like when you dip an Oreo in some milk. All right, so then you take it and you'll notice that it's really soft. It makes it really soft really easily, dipping it in the water, okay? So I'm just testing out an area. Okay, so that's one way you could do it. And I'm gonna go back and forth, okay? And you can just work this way if you like. That's one way you could work with these. Oh, I like it. It really lets out a lot of instant color. Kind of a fun way. And it helps you if you're looking to get those really saturated colors in a line that's still kind of looking like a colored pencil. All right, so that's one technique. Another technique you can do is where you take your watercolor pencil. For example, I'm going to use my dark blue. And I'm going to go over here where it's already pretty dark. I'm going to lay it in a lot, nice and heavy and thick. So I'm putting some down here. I'm going to go up a little ways just so you can see the effect. So I'm just coloring, and I didn't get my pencil wet first this time. This time I'm just putting on like a normal color pencil while it's dry. Okay. And I think that's enough to show maybe a little more. It's so tempting. Okay. So I've kind of colored on some dark blue here. Now I'm going to take a wet watercolor brush, okay, with soft bristles. Any brush will work actually, but I like a watercolor brush. And then we are going to we're going to pretend that it's painting time, and we're going to go around, scrub around the bristles. And it's actually lifting up those colors. And you can see it especially working up here in the lighter areas. And it kind of turns it into watercolor paint, essentially. Kind of cool. You can go back to your water cup, get a little more water. Kind of scrub it around in circular motions, really to kind of push and pull and move around these particles. And there, this is looking so cool now. Now I just want to do the whole thing. Fun. Fun, fun, fun. Okay, so that is how you work with your watercolor pencils. And of course, if you want to work with your watercolor paint, you could do that. Maybe I'll try adding, let's do a little bit of black, just a little. And let's exaggerate the darkness back there. Yep, I'm gonna wash out some of the black. It's a little too much. I'm gonna mix that in. There, yeah, that looks really far away now back there because I added a little black. Think about the value, right? Far away. Okay. And you know, sometimes you get that nice aqua color and there's actually a lot of green tone in the water. So I think I'll try to sneak in some green up here and mix in a little blue. And if I'm color mixing with watercolor paint, I have a tip for you, okay? Make sure that you don't mix in your tray. Mix on your paper. So I laid down green first. Now I can mix in a little bit of blue on the paper. See how that works? Okay. And I'm loving the relationship between the colored pencil, the watercolor pencil, and my watercolor paint. Can't explain to you. It's so cool looking when you put all of those materials together. So awesome. This is looking really good. And I'm gonna just paint right over a few of my animal creatures because it's gonna make it look like they're underwater a little more, I think. I kind of like that. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but kind of seems to make it look like you're looking through a glass. Here's some green. Notice what I'm doing with my green. And then washing out my brush quick, getting a little bit of blue here. Gonna mix in some blue with the green so it becomes turquoise. There we go. Oh my gosh, that looks kind of scary. Now I think that makes my great white shark look a little scarier. Like he's coming through the water. Okay. And then once this dries, if you want to experiment a little bit with like an eraser to kind of lighten some areas to lift out the pencil, you could do that too. If you want. Okay. And so forth. I think I'm just going to continue playing around with coloring and layering and so forth. So with watercolor pencils being worked, this part of my painting is becoming really wet right now. So I do not, while it's soaking wet, I need to let it dry. Okay, if I go right to it with a hard pencil, it's gonna tear a hole in it probably. So be mindful of that. If you're working over soft paper that's kind of soggy wet, you don't want to rip a hole in it. Okay, all right. Well, this has been fun. Okay, I'll show you what mine looks like when it's all done with the watercolors, with the watercolor pencil, and when it's all completely done being colored in. Can't wait to show you. I hope yours turns out. This is quite the aquarium. Cool. Bye-bye.